BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
There are lots of special places across the northeast of England, and they're special for all sorts of reasons. It could be a happy place, the place that says, I'm home, or the place you go to escape, to reflect, or to remember loved ones here and past. I'm Cy King, one half of the Hairy Bikers. For me and thousands of others, Sycamore Gap was all of those things. A solitary sycamore tree next to Hadrian's Wall in our beloved Northumberland.
Been Tree of the Year, most photographed tree in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's one of the most quintessentially idyllic spots in the world.
All times of year there's people up there photographing the tree. It's just such a beloved icon of the Roman war.
Some have grown up with it, others discovered it by accident. Lots of people have photos on their phones or on their walls in their homes. It's really hard to imagine life without it.
One of the Northeast's best-known trees has been chopped down.
It's heartbreaking, to be honest with you.
The famous tree at Sycamore Gap, you know, the one that's in Robin Hood, it has been cut down overnight.
It is devastating.
There's a lot of people who are physically sick, a lot of anger, frustration, not knowing why.
It's a part of our heritage. It's a beautiful part of our northeast, vista. Gone.
It's a really sacred place. It's like kicking over someone's gravestone. I don't think people realise how much of an impact this is actually going to have on the northeast.
I just found out about this and I'm sitting in a car park in Hexham weeping.
You cannot wash this off a wall. This act of vandalism, it's irreparable.
Why would someone be so malicious to do something like that when it means so much to so many people?
Whoever cut it down, whoever they were trying to hurt, they've hurt people all over the world.
I heard about what happened and had what can only be described as a visceral response. I was angry, upset, frustrated that someone's malice had spilt over and violated the precious land which we love. Like many other people, at first, I wasn't sure it was real. Then, when I found out it was real, I got really angry.
Hello everyone, I've just been made aware that we've lost the sycamore at Sycamore Gap. Somebody has felled it, apparently. Well, I hope whoever's done that has a conscience, because you've just murdered a sentinel of time and elemental spirit of Northumberland. And I hope you feel really good about yourself. For whatever warped reason you've done it, it's shocking.
And I couldn't understand the mentality of somebody, whoever that person may be, to attack something so iconic that is part of our collective identity. I couldn't get my head around it. It was complete disbelief. I think the reaction for me was one of those moments where a community loses hope in human beings. That was manifest in the outpouring of what was in essence grief about the loss of something so iconic.
Of all the trees, it's the biggest part of Northumberland. It means so much to so many people. My name's Hayley. I got engaged at Sycamore Gap. That one little tree was so symbolic of not only the region, the area, but the people here. It was a point of pride. That tree stood the test of time. If that tree could talk, I've had so many stories to have told.
There's a road which kind of faces the gap. It's about half a mile back from the roadside, Got my big lens out, zoomed in, and sure enough, the tree was on its side. My name's 𝗔𝗫. I'm a local photographer. I know a lot of people might say it's just a tree. It's not just a tree, it's a really sacred place. People's loved ones are scattered there. It's not just a tree.
My name's 𝗤𝗏. I'm from South Shields. 2 years ago I walked along Hadrian's Wall, and whilst I was doing it I took my dad's ashes with us. It was really hard, but what kept us going was the fact that I had my dad's ashes in the bag with us, so when I got to this point and I scattered them that speeders on to finish the walk as well, because I was doing it for him, and that's why it's so special it was.
I got a text message about 9:30 in the morning and a photograph of the tree, and I was like, it has to be a joke, can't be real. My name's Steve Blair. I'm the general manager of the 𝗏𝗏 Inn. We're situated right on the Roman wall. Sycamore Gap is 1 mile basically from us. Everyone was stunned, couldn't believe it, why someone would do it. Everyone was in shock.
And the shock waves travelled around the world.
Now, for 300 years, this tree has stood next to Hadrian's Wall in Northumberland. Last night, it was cut down in what's thought to be an act of vandalism.
It was one of the most photographed trees in the UK and even had a starring role in a Kevin Costner movie. Sometime overnight, the iconic Sycamore Gap tree, also known as the
Sycamore Gap tree 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏 𝗥𝗏 𝗏𝗏 Northumberland.
A sycamore tree that stood for more than 200 years in northern England has been destroyed. The tree was cut down in what authorities are calling an act of vandalism.
The story of Sycamore Gap goes back more than 1,900 years to when the Roman Emperor Hadrian built a wall to mark the northwest frontier of the Roman Empire. It's now a World Heritage Site, up there with the pyramids and the Grand Canyon. It's thought Sycamore Gap took its name from a tree planted in the 1800s by a landowner called John Clayton in one of the places where the wall dips. Eventually, it could be seen for miles.
I've worked with it for nearly 35 years, so it's been a major part of my life. You just can't get away from it. And seeing all those images now, it was just a perfect. It's almost like it was created by an artist. You couldn't have set a tree in a landscape better than it was, the way it was framed. I don't know. I can't find the right word for it. It's totemic. It's the one, and such a perfect image. Andrew Pode, the general manager for the National Trust on Hadrian's Wall, and I've had now probably a month of Sycamore Gap dominating my life. Yeah, just really sad, I think. It's sad that somebody felt they needed to do that, I think. But, it took a bit of planning that. It took skill and knowledge and a bit of effort to go into it. So it's sad for the world that we've lost it, but it's sad that somebody felt they wanted to do that.
In 1991, the tree made it to the big screen, providing a memorable location in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Azim the Great One! I am home! Woo!
It's often the case when looking for film locations that Northumberland is a rich scene because of its wild landscapes and beauty. I know this because I was a location manager for very, very many years. But it turns out that this location, Sycamore Gap, this tree, had already auditioned in front of Hollywood director Kevin Reynolds, the man behind Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
I'd actually visited the area back when I was a student in college, long before Robin Hood, and I still remember driving along this road and looking over and seeing this dip in the wall and this tree, and I went, whoa, what's that place? And I was just blown away, and that's before I even knew what Sycamore Gap was. And so years later, when we were scouting locations for the movie, I said, let's go up to Hadrian's Wall. I want to see this place. So I specifically went to that place and said, we got to shoot something here. And so I chose that scene to be shot there. And to me, place is a character in movies. And so that place just imbued itself into the scene and made it what it was. That scene it would not have worked the way it did without that location. That's why you choose them. That's why you look for remarkable places to shoot.
And Kevin was devastated, to say the least, after he found out his picture-perfect movie scene had become a crime scene.
I was actually, I was on a boat off the coast of Turkey when our guide came up to me and said, someone cut down the Robin Hood tree at Sycamore Gap last night. And I was just stunned. I was gutted, and then I was furious. So if you're expecting a measured politic response from me, you're not going to get one. This is the second loss, Prince of Thieves has suffered in the last couple of years, Alan Rickman and now this. And I know some people will say, oh, you can't compare the death of a tree to the death of a person. But I think, some things are just so iconic, so, perfect in their being that they just have a profound effect on people, as this has. And so I think that comparison's justified. And I know Alan would have agreed with it. And Sycamore Gap on Hadrian's Wall, it was one of the most quintessentially idyllic spots in the world, and now it's gone. It's murdered. And for what reason? Would you destroy the Taj Mahal or Gullfoss Falls in Iceland or the Big Dipper if you could? What an ugly, despicable, senseless act to destroy something so beautiful. What kind of odious scumbag does such a thing?
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
During the Gulf War, the number of foreign visitors to Britain dropped dramatically. American tourists in particular gave the country a wide berth. That was until Robin Hood came to the rescue.
Azim the Great One, I am home!
The release of the Robin Hood films, especially the Kevin Costner film, is giving us a fairly unique, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The media attention associated with this film is massive. In the States it's been incredible.
And the effects are showing. Already visitor numbers are up by 30%.
I know what it can mean to a community to see themselves and their area reflected on film. I worked on the Harry Potter films in Alnwick and Durham, and like Harry Potter, it was huge, grossing over $300 million worldwide. One of the first scenes was filmed at Sycamore Gap. It featured Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman rescuing a character called Wolf from a tree.
I was Wolf, the little boy who runs away from the dogs and climbs up the tree, basically.
Daniel Newman played Wolf. He's now a personal trainer living in London.
So you were in the actual tree?
Yeah, it's the first thing I did on the movie, actually. It's my first day, I think. Wow.
And obviously you're hearing the news about what's happened in Sycamore Gap. How do you feel about that?
It's a shame, obviously. I think it is a beautiful and iconic image, isn't it? And you can tell by the way that there's such a big reaction to it, that it's not just people who live near it or recognise it. I don't know, people love that movie, but I think the image outside of the movie anyway is beautiful, and it's just a real shame. It's hugely beautiful.
I'm Kevin Reynolds, and I was the director of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I specifically went to that place and said, we got to shoot something here. And so I chose that scene to be shot there.
It was off the beaten track, and it wasn't easy to get the crew and equipment to. But dear me, it was worth it, wasn't it?
It was a pain, and hats off to our production managing to get everything up there. We were all over the country when we shot Robin. And in fact, a lot of people point out the fact that the previous scene was shot down at the Seven Sisters down by Dover on the coast. And then suddenly they're walking on Hadrian's Wall. I know, but 99% of the audience out there doesn't realize it. Brits do, but it was so gorgeous I had to do it.
I'm 𝗏𝗏, General Manager for Hadrian's Wall for the National Trust, and for many years I worked as our ranger on Hadrian's Wall, so was closely involved with protecting the tree. It was a bit of a shock to the area in a nice way, but there was money being splashed around left, right and centre. Every farmer was coming out the woodwork offering help, moving equipment around because it was cash in hand. Kevin Costner, I knew, was staying in the George Hotel and was complaining about the cold. He was complaining it was colder than when he filmed the winter scenes for Dances with Wolves. But we've had loads of filming on the wall over the years, but that was big Hollywood and very open. The whole community was kind of getting involved in it in some way, shape or form.
If you do a Google search on Sycamore Gap, on the term Sycamore Gap, you'll find unbelievably over 30 million results.
Local police officer Ian Glendinning, hello Ian, I remember you, did some overtime on traffic duty during filming.
Well, I can't claim to have met any famous personalities, and my memories are standing in the middle of the road, stopping traffic for hours on end. But yeah, the production crews were there, and I'm sure a few of my old colleagues will remember it as well. But I think it's fair to say that until that film was actually released, the tree wasn't a particular tourist attraction or landmark, but once the location of that particular scene became known, it just took off. There's people coming from far and wide to go and have their photographs taken underneath it or photograph it. Certainly put the north of England and Northumberland on the map.
The impact the movie had on the tree and Northumberland was huge. The world had now seen the beauty of Sycamore Gap, and it wanted to visit.
You know, it's gratifying when you feature a location in a movie and it does have that effect on a local populace, because, you know, they're very proud of these things, and to expose them to the rest of the world and have the rest of the world appreciate them, you know, I know means a lot to people.
And unsurprisingly, guess what? Almost everyone who visited took pickies.
It's been Tree of the Year, most photographed tree in the Northern Hemisphere. All times of year there's people up there photographing the tree. It's just such a beloved icon of the Roman war.
It was magical. It was the symmetry, wasn't it? It was the perfect symmetry. The way that the hills just lined and then just hugged the tree in the middle was just beautiful.
Sycamore Gap had become one of the most famous trees in the world. But on the night of the 27th of September 2023, as Storm Agnes swept the UK, someone took more than a photograph. And the tree, which was special to so many people around the world, came crashing to the ground. The news travelled around the world.
What is it with this tree that has generated quite that level of interest? I think this is for the National Trust. This is the little film we released the day after we removed the tree, is the most watched film the National Trust's ever released. This time last week it had 3.7 million views, which is 2 million more than its predecessor as the most watched film, and it was then shared 33 million times.
Chris Watson is an award-winning sound recordist who has worked all over the world on nature documentaries, including the BBC's Frozen Planet. Sycamore Gap is one of his favourite places.
My wife Maggie and I first discovered the Sycamore Gap almost 40 years ago when we started walking on Hadrian's Wall. And after Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, our children would look forward to going back to the Sycamore Gap to act out their own battle scenes on the green, rolling slopes beneath the tree. Over the years, I've recorded along and around Hadrian's Wall for many film, television and radio projects. The broad, five-pointed leaves of sycamore trees have a particular signature sound when caught by a breeze. Just a couple of weeks ago, I recorded the autumn song of a robin singing on Hadrian's Wall. And I thought of this bird as singing an elegy for the fallen tree, a song to help heal the gap.
But after the shock and anger came something else.
I heard about the news of a Sycamore Gap tree that's been cut, and moved and touched by this story. I wanted to go there from Italy, to travel all the way to the site and play my music for it. I felt like the tree was still dying but alive. I think that the tree somehow talked to me.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
The tree at Sycamore Gap had taken hundreds of years to grow, but it had been felled overnight and changed the landscape forever. 𝗟𝗫 was one of the last people to see it alive.
The night before it happened, I was walking. I'd walked about 18 miles. I was actually just going down to stay at the hostel here. It was so rainy, I almost didn't take a picture and hardly realised I was even here. I probably took about 5 pictures, but it was so wet. I had a lot of drips on the camera, and I had no idea what was going to happen and how it was going to blow up the next day. I feel incredibly lucky to be one of the last people that have walked the whole wall with the Sycamore Gap in it. It really blew my mind that I was here. I went down to the hostel and I got up in the morning, it was gone. It was quite an emotional journey for me doing that walk on my own. So yeah, it did really mean a lot. It was a big milestone for me. It feels surreal to be back here.
Whether it was anger, curiosity, or the need to say goodbye, a steady stream of people came to visit.
Everybody sort of feels very bereft about it, you know. I mean, who would do it, for goodness sake?
It's absolutely devastating. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
Just a special place. I proposed my wife here. I saw it when I was a young kid in the States.
It's really sad that someone's felt a drive to do this, because I can imagine whoever or whatever people did this know how important Sycamore Gap is.
I used to watch some pictures in my books at school, and I remember clearly the tree. Also, I remember the famous movie. So when I heard the news, I felt really emotional, and I wanted to honor the tree.
Riccardo Pes is a professional cellist living in Italy. When he heard what had happened at Sycamore Gap, he knew instantly what he was going to do.
I felt an immediate connection with the tree when I heard the news. I feel a connection with the place because the Hadrian's Wall, so the Romans. Because I'm Italian, I feel a deep connection, of course, with the Roman history. So somehow that place was home. I wanted to go there from Italy, to travel all the way to the site and play my music. It was pouring rain, I was completely wet, incredibly windy, muddy. Again, I was really determined. It was my only chance to see the tree. I felt like the tree was still alive, dying but alive. I think that the tree somehow talked to me. It's definitely a huge presence. You can really feel that it's alive and it's got personality.
Riccardo wasn't alone. A lot of people wanted to say goodbye.
When I first heard what happened, I actually seen it on social media, on Facebook, and I didn't believe it. I thought it was just somebody making it up until I actually checked it over and over through the day, and I was just heartbroken, basically, to be honest. I thought, why would someone be so malicious to do something like that when it means so much to so many people?
Emma Butler's father died 10 years ago. She scattered his ashes under the tree at Sycamore Gap.
She's about to spread Stephen's ashes just at this most magical tree. I've got goosebumps, you know. Enjoy your view, Stephen.
My dad was such a big nature person, and when we were kids he would take all over in the countryside camping and stuff like that, and he was all about conservation and about looking after the environment and stuff like that. So that's why I done it.
Understandably, Emma was nervous about going back now the tree had gone.
I thought I'd be quite emotional, but I actually feel quite happy just to know that the stump's still there, and so I feel like my dad's still here because it is part of it still left. When I was looking at the tree there, it made us feel close to him. I thought, because I know exactly where I put him. Yeah, makes us feel close.
Hi, my name's 𝗔𝗁𝘀. I'm a local photographer. It's just been bonkers. People basically calling out saying, look, we love your work. We're trying to find images of the tree. Me and a few of my friends who are in the photography world, we're all saddened about the tree. It was our kind of like haven. We weren't bothered about selling prints. We went there to get away from the world. And if we got a good shot at the end of it, great, it was a bonus, And now all them pictures have been documented. But now people are wanting something to keep forever because it's never going to be there again,
Christine Brentnall is a head teacher at Cleves Cross School in Ferry Hill.
Do you know, I've never visited the tree, unfortunately, and I'm really sad that I can't, but I was so shocked. I was so shocked that someone could actually do that, and why would they do that?
Mrs. Stamper is a Year 2 teacher at the same school.
I have never been either, but my brother had just been the week before, so it was fresh in my mind, and I just remembered like nearly crying driving home, thinking I can't believe that that's happened. We were just really, really shocked. It's such a shocking event that we just couldn't not talk about it and not do something about it, you know. Yeah.
After her friend wrote a poem about what had happened, Mrs. Stamper decided to take it into class.
The next day we just talked to the children about the news, as we do, and we talked about the tree, and I said, actually, I'm going to let you hear this poem, and they were just silent the whole way through, and then as it ended, a few of them were crying.
I felt really heartbroken for the tree because it was an amazing landmark, because it was one of the famousest trees in the country that not many people got to go and see. It was a famous tree that a lot of people loved and a lot of people liked to visit it because it was in a famous movie. It was a special tree, it was famous, and it was like a landmark to England. Really emotional.
We still don't know exactly what happened at Sycamore Gap that night. We may never know. The police investigations into who felled the tree are ongoing. What we do know is that there is, literally, a gap at Sycamore Gap. What, if anything, should happen next? How do we replace something that's irreplaceable?
There's no way you can recreate what it was. I mean, it was 300 years old, so it took 3 centuries to get to where it was. So if they were so lucky to have shoots grow out of the stump, it would be another 300 years before it, gets to that same point. What do we do in the interim for the next 300 years to honor it? I don't know. I guess trying to find a bright side, I guess I'm just grateful that we managed to get it on film, so it exists at least on film and people can see what it was, how glorious it was. But it'll never be the same.
It is really sad, and you can see people here walking to have a look at the remains of it. It's still going to be a popular place, whatever they put here. If they make a bench or a memorial or plant another tree or let the sycamore grow again, that would just be perfect, wouldn't it? So people can still flock here, still enjoy it. It would be to carry on being that icon, and I think it actually will.
It's a symbol. It's not just a tree, because there are many trees being cut all over the world every day. What it represents is beauty, spirituality as well. And I think it would be great if maybe among many propositions the National Trust had what to do in the future with the tree, I think that would be very nice maybe to carve a string quartet or a cello out from the wood. Would be a good idea to make its spirit living again through the music.
The man behind the Angel of the North, Anthony Gormley, isn't convinced. A sculpture is the way to go.
Sculpture is a still, silent thing, against which the changing light of the day, the seasons of the year, and our lives, feelings, thoughts, etc., can be registered. But a tree is a living thing, changing with the seasons, its annual growth evidenced in the 300 rings that are now displayed across its cut stump. It calls on our fellowship as living beings. The loss of this one tree should encourage respect for the multitude of native trees in Britain. The loss of this one tree should be replaced by a concerted countrywide replanting of native trees.
One thing's for sure. However long we might be waiting for green shoots and answers, people will remember the story of Sycamore Gap.
Please don't be sad or cry over me. I will always be the famous sycamore tree.
I may not now be standing tall, but my memory will live on at the foot of the wall. My roots are still strong and the memories remain. Please don't allow this act to fill you with pain. I give thanks to all who have visited me. I have shared precious moments watch you laugh and be free. I have been a present for many occasions, watched children climb the wall, all of them laughing and playing, whilst here and parents shout, "Don't fall." I'm sorry that this day has come. I never thought it would be so soon. Let's try and share all the happy memories with me instead of the doom and gloom. I have stood at my spot for hundreds of years, and I'll certainly miss the view. But most of all, the things I will miss most is standing here with you. Thank you for the special times. Those are things that cannot fall. I will now live on in spirit and in the hearts of you all. I am sorry I have to leave now. I'm sad I have to fall. Please never forget me. Now the gap at the wall.